hours. Besides bringing interest in the water conversation, the session is also will also increase the outreach of the manuscript in the water networks as well as in society at large. This is Mansee Bal Bhargava from the House of WforW, and I am the host also for today. The session is greetings everyone. On behalf of Friday Waters, an initiative of the WforW Foundation, a think tank built as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to today's session of Friday Water Talkies. The Friday Waters is a continuation of the signature series Wednesdays for Water. The idea of Friday Waters is to bring water knowledge available in the various alternate forms at one place for developing a better understanding about the water matters in different ways beyond the science, which we do on usually Wednesdays for Water. The activities initiated in the Friday Waters include Water Talkies, which is today, Water Reading Club when we invite authors, Water Thesis Club when we invite PhD scholars and postdocs, Water Arts when artists come here and speak with us, and sometimes we also get a jackpot. We call them Meet a Maestro. Each of these sessions takes place depending on the availability of our speakers. The Friday Water sessions are designed to be fun-filled and yet be fruitful, to look at water from different perspectives and also different mediums. Do keep following us at www.wforw.in for regular updates. At WforW, we strongly believe that water conversations are crucial to water conservation, and that's where we actually brought Friday Waters into our main discourse, as there are different ways to also talk about water. The focus of Water Talkies is to bring the cast and the crew of the movie, documentary, or videos, and which are made on water matters, and actually discuss with them the making of the documentary or the film, and the issues around the subject they intended to cover, and the impact they intend to make on the society. Besides bringing interest in the water conversation, this will also allow us to increase the outreach of the film or the documentary or movie, as we call it, in the water networks as well as in the society at large. The Water Talkies session has also actually hosted live dance, song, and in the live format. My name is Mansee Bal Bhargava, and I'm from the House of WforW and the moderator for today's Water Talkies session on whatever. And it's written in very interesting way, and we also have both the filmmakers from the film Whatever, Geetika Sudip and Sudip Joshy, as our guest speakers to discuss this wonderful documentary. I just got to know about it actually not long ago, a month ago. I have been always hunting for films, but it's really an honor to invite both of them. And before I actually invite to engage in a conversation, let me also just do a simple biography of both the co-directors, co-producers, Sudip Joshi and Geetika Sudip. They are husband and wife and director duo, as they call themselves, who have done feature films in Malayalam and television films in India and also in abroad. And advertisement films, they are doing corporate videos and advertisements. And Sudeep completed his master's in filmmaking from International Film School of Paris, and Geetika has an MBA from INSEAD in media management. Just keeping it brief so that we can straight away jump into the making of the film and discuss more aspects the film tries to cover. So welcome Sudeep and Geetika. I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly, and let's have the conversation on the idea. First, for me, what struck is very interestingly named What, and then there's in bracket, and then there is Ever, which actually sums up that about water. I feel you can talk many more things, but I would like to know from both of you what exactly really refers to whatever in this film, or how did you really arrive to this interesting name?
I think it was Geetika who came up with this. I am trying to figure out what she meant.
Yeah.
Please tell us.
All right. So thank you, Mansee, for having us here. And it's always a pleasure, discussing in detail about works that we have done. So very interesting that you should bring up the title because in this particular case, we named our documentary after it was almost complete, because it took form little by little. We were covering the three different terrains. So it was always going to be a deeper look about the availability of water, the practices of water management, challenges across different terrains. So uh, actually naming it was a bit of a challenge, but then we realized that water means different things. I mean, at least in terms of approaches to water, is it something that you find around you always? Is it a scarcity situation? So we realized that it has very different meanings and impact for people of the three different territories that we actually shot in, which led to the title, which was actually the last thing about the documentary. So we thought we captured that element of meaning different things to different people, sort of, in that title.
And interestingly, when we look at the actual whatever spelling, which is WHAT ever, it also gives me some kind of feeling, like people are also very casual about this subject. And that is where I could, relate that yes, they have deep thinking beyond it and also linking it with water. And I'm going to tell you that I am going to use this word more often, of course, acknowledging both of you as well. So, coming to the film, I was very intrigued that you actually traverse across the country. So, what was the idea? You already started mentioning that you travel different landscapes, and I would like to know the gist of is how did this seed of idea came into your mind? Why across? Of course, we'll take some glimpse of the film, but it's good to hear from the horse's mouth. What was in the head, in the heads, not one but
Yeah,
two.
I think, Mansi, it all started when we were actually making a documentary about something else, and we wanted a front, to do the documentary, which had a lot of critical, controversial aspects to it. And while we were doing it, our first set of shooting was happening in Jammu Kashmir and in Ladakh. And that is where we used to tell people that we are making a documentary on climate change, and we were never planning to do something specifically on water. But during that process, we observed that the people there basically were using water very preciously. They had to break off ice pieces, put it in buckets, and there were some indigenous methods, like there is a special kind of a leaf that they would take with them while they are walking and traveling, and they would swallow it whenever they are thirsty, so that the water that is stored in that leaf they are using. So it was very shocking to us who are coming from Kerala, where there is huge monsoons. We are like, we don't care much about water, especially
You're
me.
in whatever mode. You are in
Water,
whatever mode.
whatever mindset to water. I would not even close a tap because I was a little lazy. I used to be like that. And if at all this film spoke to someone, I would be the first person to whom the movie spoke. And then the second schedule of the movie was in Rajasthan, where we show that some people, they would leave their mobile phones in their house, but they would put a lock on their tap so that nobody steals the water, because for them, more than the mobile phone, the water and the tap. And there was something which was very shocking to me, where a whole family had one bucket of water to take. I saw that with my eye. So the brother first steps into a big bucket, and then he stands on it and takes a bath. And with the water that is inside this tub, the second brother comes and takes a bath. So we used to, use water like that. And when I come back to Kerala, I see a very different picture. That is when we just thought, okay, even though we were making something else, why don't we also focus a little bit on Kerala, where there are many places where people actually stay inside houses which is filled with water because of floods,
Hmm.
but that water is not also not usable to them, and they have another indigenous methods of bringing that water. So then we studied a little bit about. We got to know about the indigenous methods in Rajasthan, age-old methods where of step wells, of of architecture styles, where you would tell the whole public that, okay, if the water is still the elephant, you can take a bath once a day. If the water is still the horse, you can take. So like that, we understood a lot. Then we went on a second mission and shot.
Mhm.
Then that's how we.
Mhm. So you had a Reiki time already.
Yeah.
You have to do a Reiki time, otherwise it's difficult to plan the things as well. So, and please let me know whenever you think we can play some glimpse from the film. Maybe we can start taking each landscape in three parts and then have the conversation. And also, just to get a feeling from you on your idea of how films have been over the time, of course, and of course your work as well, you think can really bring an impact. I'm asking this question more for the younger generation who are actually taking film and art as an alternative path, or I should not use the word alternative, actually as a professional path to bring a change or make a career out of it. Where do you think in India we stand today for younger generation in the filmmaking industry for making such kind of difficult subjects? I mean, you can do Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, God knows how many woods we have, but taking serious topic and then bringing it to the international platforms and audience, where do we stand today for it? I'm actually giving a keynote this weekend to a lot of young artists across the country who are gathering at Baroda. So maybe this will help me also to gain some insights.
Well, Mansi, actually, we shot this documentary, I think, around 14 to 15 years ago.
Yes,
And things have
2011.
changed. Yeah, things have changed a lot since then,
Mhm.
both in terms of the tools and technology that are available for a
Okay.
young person who wants to go out there and create something, you know, on any subject that speaks to him or her. That is one aspect. The
Mhm.
second is that people in general and the younger generation, the Gen Z, are much
Mhm.
more aware, on a very direct personal basis about the various issues that are impacting their lives,
Mhm.
including climate change. So
Mhm.
I think both of this put together and the fact that there has been increasing exposure and attention on non Bollywood, Tollywood areas. So, for example, it was exciting when RRR won an Oscar for the
Mhm.
music, but we also had the Elephant Whisperers.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
so that balance is happening on the international stage, and somehow when there is recognition and you have a role model or you have something that has already walked the
Mhm.
path, it does blaze a trail for anybody who wants to come in, and attempt to do something similar. So I think we, purely in terms of the younger people having a perspective, having agency, having opportunity, I think we are in a much better space than we were maybe a decade and a half ago. But as far as climate change is concerned, we have been on a sliding slope as far as actually
Yes.
implementation is concerned. Uh, because one of the things that is pointed out in our documentary, I think both in Rajasthan as well as all three territories, is how individual people now don't take up responsibility due to
Mm.
various reasons. So we
Yes.
have the former Maharaja of Jodhpur, very interestingly, say that earlier, before democracy came in, it was a bit of a controversial view actually, but
But it
there
is
is
his view.
it
Yeah.
is, but there is maybe a kernel of truth,
Yes.
which is why we kept it in. He said that before democracy came, so now we have democracy, we have taps in the household. Somebody, an unnamed, entity with no face, is bringing the water to you. So your personal responsibility in ensuring that the
Yes.
water sources are clean or available or refurbished, that has been taken out completely. Whereas earlier it was a communal, community affair, ensuring that the water, the step wells, or whatever water harvesting is taken care of. So the same element we felt at that point of time in the different landscapes as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you are so right that the association with water has changed completely with the way we have evolved as a society, particularly when still in urban areas and rural areas we can see the discrepancy. But somehow the community water management has completely shifted somewhere else, and it's like a service provider and user situation. But in your film, you portray a very optimistic side of it. Then the way climate change is going, and then the way, especially water management, we all keep thinking that government is going to, and that agency is actually the ghost, which is the government, the unfazed agency, which is ensuring. But also it is challenged because how community responds to what is provided to us. So, yeah, shall we go to the one landscape and see? Because you have some wonderful protagonist in your film as well. So maybe I will be keen to hear what was the kind of conversation, like you talked about Maharaja of Jodhpur. And Jodhpur is blessed with tanks and step wells, and the palace itself and the fort itself is having such wonderful Vaudi and Bawdis. Maybe I would you suggest that I play the north part, and then we can take it further from there?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. You may tell me when we can stop, but let's see. Okay.
with very little rain and no water. It rains and rains for almost 3 months in Kerala. It gets really wet.
मैं तो पहाड़ में सेवा गई करता हूँ। बड़ा पहाड़ है और उन परिवार के बीच में मुझे 8 घंटे 10 घंटे 15 घंटे लग
So let's get into the discussion on this protagonist, because he has a story to tell and it's in the film. But it's also good for us to hear from you. How did you meet the person? What was his concern, and how is he actually, taking it to the community affair in his everyday life? And how did you encounter or meet the person, for that matter?
Well, we were actually, and as I said, we were shooting something else there, and that is when, through a friend of a friend, we came, and we had to go to a particular place in, which is, somewhere around the border, and there, we did not have any accommodation, and so this is the only person with whom we could stay, and he offered us, to stay at his house, where it was a single room, and he had his three daughters and wife and everybody, and all of us stayed in his room. So we got to know him, and that is where, as I said,
Mm.
we understood that he is walking a lot of distance. He is a gospel preacher, and when he walks, he uses this particular leaf, which he carries in his pocket, and after maybe, he has to reach somewhere in 2 days, because there is no bus route, and that is when he choose this particular leaf which has some water content, and that is how he will quench his thirst, which was first time information to me. And at that point, we never had the idea of making something like this. And when we came back, and when we went to Rajasthan, when we came back, that is when we thought, from a larger umbrella of making something about climate change, we will focus on water conservation and water, issues of water and the different. Then we got this idea of water exists in three different forms, and then we have this three different terrains where in one place there is ice, one in Kerala there is a lot of water, and then Rajasthan, probably something like in a gaseous state, or there is less water. So we thought, why don't we travel all these places and then understand how water is conserved or made. And so initially, this person, it was a random thing. But when we decided on Rajasthan, the Maharaja, obviously, we understood that there was the waterman, the person who built about 200 Bawdis in Rajasthan, and he connected us to Maharaja, who is a very hardcore person who was into activism on water. And then we got to meet him. We understood that this is his passion now, totally into it. And then we came back to Kerala. Then we thought who would we take as a protagonist there, and then we kind of figured out why not the filmmaker herself kind of tell
Yes.
about it. And so that is how we chose all the protagonists. But to add one point that when we finished all this, it was very optimistic, and it had all the good sides of water. And that is when we thought, okay, we are making a documentary. Usually people don't make very optimistic documentaries. You need something
Yes.
on the other side. And that is where at that same year this the study came where it was found out that by 2050 all the water demands will be consumed by the supply. Uh, and then we thought, okay, then we should be talking about the children uh, who
Hmm.
will be an issue in 2050, who will be the victims of this. And that is when it was kind of it evolved into that, where we thought, okay, we will now we don't have a footage, or we cannot do this again, go back to all these places, find children there and do this. So we thought we got some footage of children from each of these places, and then we introduced this imaginary character of a boy who's drawing something, and then he's speaking to his mother, and the mother is narrating different places in India, and so he became actually the final protagonist,
Hmm.
who at the end is kind of asking the mother, like, will I have water in
Yeah,
future?
difficult question, which now every child has a right to ask this question. And you both may be aware that it took so many decades to arrive to this consensus at the world platform that actually climate crisis is water crisis. Now at least UN Water is doing its own conference and discussion. COP is at least for last 3 times COP has included water as a component. Otherwise, climate crisis has a different story and water was left somewhere. So it has arrived. So I mean, I see always the contribution. Maybe it is not directly seen by people like you and many others, but these small drop of contributions make it to the bigger platform, and finally at least water crisis is discussed in global platforms. It was not there. So every contribution matters. So I'll just switch to play here because I have seen that Geetika appears in the
किस्म के
film
मौसम के
right
हिसाब
after
से
some
रहना
time.
Yes, yes, I
In the city of Trivandrum in Kerala. This is the southernmost city of this state and also the first place where the southwest monsoon hits the coast. So, for me personally, as a child, the monsoon was a great experience.
My ancestors came and settled here in 1200. It was a very inhospitable territory, and ever since then, the quest for water was always there.
The man walking with a stick is Pastor Sansar Chand. He meets people every day and tells them about God. That's Geetika. She's a filmmaker. This is Maharaj Gaj Singh, king of Marwar.
जगह जगह में पहाड़ों में जो पानी जो है तो कहीं जगह में मिल जाता है, कहीं जगह में नहीं मिलता। बड़ी मुश्किल है पानी की पहाड़ों में।
So, I started on this journey exploring the monsoon, exploring Kerala, the lakes, the rivers, the backwaters, just to see where this water journey goes to.
And all the entire hill was
So I'm
all around, and the water was brought.
I'm stopping here to ask a very technical kind of question here, because in every shot you are actually going to all the landscapes. Right, that is something very interesting, which means there you, of course, in every film there's a storyline you are crafting and all, and it's very interesting the way you have put it together, as in like sections of the film, so what is happening in Kerala, and like you, Geetika, you introduced that you enjoy it, and I'm just stopping at this point where children are, I have seen this happening in Jaisalmer as well, that people are really enjoying pond and jumping from different pavilions and places. And then, this child who is talking about introducing everyone. So, did you really also actually inform the child about the entire story so that he also gets into that role and starts talking? How did you really train the child?
Okay, that's an interesting question because the child who had done the narrative was actually the son of a lady who was a professional um, copywriter as well as a dubbing artist. So
Okay.
yeah. So our initial conversation was obviously with the mother, and we explained the concept. And of course, being in a similar sort of a field, it was very
Yes.
easy for her to sort of get on the same page with us. Then we brought the child in because there is actually quite a bit of emoting
Yes.
through the that needs to be done, and it's not that easy with a young child. But it was a sort of a teamwork, the two of us and the two of them. We sat together, we explained the concept, and then obviously the child may not have understood all the finer details in terms of the nitty gritties of climate change and why things are the way they are and all that. But yeah, he did quite a good job.
It,
He puts
yes.
it
Yeah,
together.
because he's also playing with his voice modulation. There is emotion. He's flowing like Maharaja. So I could
Yeah,
feel that he was really playing with the roles which he had to mention. So that is
yeah.
quite a bit of task, and especially because he's not appearing in the film then.
Yeah, I think his mother played a big role in that, and as I said, all these decisions of bringing in the child as a protagonist came after all the primary shooting was done, and so then we wanted to give it this because the last question that he's asking is very fundamental and also very emotional. We wanted him to take that role, and his mother
Yes.
really helped him to get into that. That swing. And I think to the first part of your question, what you see right now is a 5 minute abridged version. But
Yes.
in the longer 20-minute version, which is there in an OTT platform called Real House,
Mm.
uh, this was selected by Real House as a very few movies that were selected in the initial stages of Real House. There is the 30-minute larger version where you see it as three parts. You start off with
Okay.
uh, Rajasthan, and then you come to Ladakh, and then you come to Kerala.
Okay. So it's like then in there it is a chapter because we are actually watching the trailer right now. So that is why you are trying to weave in the stories through the trailer. So that makes it quite clear. So I hope people do watch the film through the full version of it and also get a sense of how three different landscapes people are same but at the same time there is a different landscape and different culture and different understanding about water. So one country because India is blessed with different landscapes and different cultures. So that also comes out very well. I'm just going further with this Rajasthan wonderful. Let the child jump into the lake so that we can go further because I just stopped him at a very critical stage. Yes, he goes in.
Monsoon lakes and talaus and bodies into the city.
There's a lot of water here, but it's all ice. So when Sansatin gets thirsty, he does something interesting.
ये हमारी भाषा में इस पेड़ को पत्ते को कहते हैं
Hmm.
कमहेल। तो ये मुंह में डालकर मैं जाता हूँ और कम से कम 10 मिनट या 15 मिनट के लिए मुंह में मठास रहती है। तो इसी वजह से मैं जो है परमेश्वर का वचन में जगह-जगह में सुनाने के लिए जाता हूँ।
ഞങ്ങൾക്കിപ്പോ ഈ വർഷക്കാലത്ത് പോലും കുടിവെള്ളത്തിന് ഭയങ്കര ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്. ലോറി വെള്ളത്തെ ആശ്രയിച്ചാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കഴിയുന്നതും ആഴ്ചയിൽ 2 ദിവസത്തേക്കാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ലോറി വെള്ളം കിട്ടുന്നത്. മുഴുവൻ വെള്ളം ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നില്ല. 6-7 കുടം വീതമാണ് ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നത്. ഒരുപാട് ആൾക്കാരുടെ സ്ഥലമാണ്. ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് ആ വെള്ളം കൊണ്ടുവരാനുള്ള വഴി പോലും ഇല്ല ശരിക്കും.
There's a lot of water here, but Ma says because it's so close to the sea, the water is very salty.
कई बार
I'm stopping here to discuss the point that actually water crisis is not about having less water. Water crisis is also in having more water, which is very well articulated here, because the main discourse in water crisis, when we talk about science, captures both. But also, I think the third aspect of water crisis is the asymmetric distribution of water to people, which depends on caste, class, location, where you are located, and all, and which is to large extent based on the societal factors. So, my next question to you is about, because you see different cultures in different landscapes. What was your sense of understanding about how is the community, uh, whether it is cohesive in dealing with their collective problem, or let's say collective arrangement, even at this point in time, because of both, all the three landscapes, you have actually gone to the rural areas mostly than the urban areas. So that one commonality I can see. And just to get your understanding, where do we stand as a community in these landscapes at this point? I mean, of course, 15 years ago, things were very different and things are very changing very rapidly now. But maybe your experience from that time, and we can take it to today's time.
Right. So back then, let's start with Rajasthan. So like Sudip had mentioned, there was Mr. Rajendra Singh, who is called
Yes,
the Waterman of India.
Bhaiji,
Yes,
we call him
uh,
Bhaiji.
yes.
He was,
So
by the way, the first person who inaugurated our series.
oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that was
First
lovely.
episode, Bhaiji.
Yeah, that's lovely. Coming full circle now with him.
Yes,
Yeah. So what he was attempting to do was really not to do something new, but rather
yes.
to tap into existing practices that has now been forgotten, thanks to perhaps urbanization, or thanks to the the lifting of individual responsibility due to democracy, as the Maharaja mentioned.
Yes.
A variety of factors, and probably a shift in perspective of water not as a precious resource but just as a commodity. Because
Commodity.
yeah, so that shift in thinking is something that it causes everything else. It's a bit like a like a snowball effect.
Hmm.
What we could see in Rajasthan was, this person, and of course, the Maharaja was totally hands on. The day that we were
Very well
shooting the
known in the water circle.
so he was inaugurating a drip irrigation facility
Hmm.
in a particular a small farm. So really trying to bring it down to the practical level, not just speaking about it. So
Hmm.
that was great. And also in the following years, what we observed was, I'm sure all of us know that something similar happened in Ladakh. Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, as we all know, he again went back to the traditional methodologies that were used, and he pioneered, or rather, he brought back the practice of creating artificial glaciers which can be
Yes.
melted and used, and so on. So, one thing that has happened now, the good thing is again that people have taken back some of the responsibility. The
Hmm.
community has woken up to the fact that you treat it as a commodity, then it's just going to become much worse for each one of us personally. But the minute you see it as a shared precious resource,
Hmm.
then everything begins to change. So what we have seen in the last 10-15 years is the this shift in perspective. So, and I also feel that the new generation has been very very sensitive to
Hmm.
issues
I
in a
agree.
positive, yeah, in a positive way. So, and we've seen that happening in Ladakh, which was not the case, because I think Mr. Wangchuk initiated this artificial
Stupa, the stupa.
yeah, it probably few years after we shot. So we were very
Hmm.
happy to know about this, that something is done. And in Kerala, of course, it's a problem of plenty. But one thing that has happened is, see, the government is very proactive, mostly in
Yes.
Kerala, with regards to these things. So they have brought in things like compulsory rainwater harvesting in all
Yes.
flats and complexes that are built, things like that, because you cannot entirely roll back urbanization, but you
Yes.
can make people responsible, which I
Yes.
think is a very important balance. Uh,
Absolutely.
So these things have happened over the years, which is very heartening, but perhaps not at the scale that is required. And while the individual person is important, I believe that public policy also makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Yes, you are right, because there has been serious efforts in empowering local communities, although those empowerment is still limited. If I read scientific documents, that they are trying all these things more in the rural populace, where the problem lies in the urban population more, because we are water guzzlers in the urban areas and also taking the rights away from the rural areas. Let us take the walk further. And I am so impressed to see that he is really almost coming out as the walker of the film.
Yeah, oh, he walks a lot. He walks every day. He walks a lot.
Water and democracy, that people became dependent on external sources.
It will be nice to have a talk on water and democracy, I mean,
And
while the
supply of
democracy.
water diminished.
Yeah.
Because the government supply was being pumped out from the groundwater diminished. There was again acute shortage.
मैं ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं कर सकता हूँ, उनके लिए यही कर सकता हूँ, जो जिंदे लोग हैं उनके लिए मैं प्रार्थना कर सकता हूँ।
Despite getting so much of rainfall, where does all this water go?
If people are not able to understand what I'm saying, we do it.
I think in the trailer also it comes out very clear about the future generation. I'm stopping the share here because other video is going to pop up now. Or I think there is some part of it left. So let's play it out. Yeah, the full documentary film information is there. Yeah. Okay. What is interesting also in the trailer, and also I see also in the film, that the younger generation, or what we call them as children, are really brought to the forefront. And I think this is something, a shared responsibility amongst all of us, because they are not having the voice to ask the difficult question which is actually lying in front of us. And when I'm traveling all over the world and interacting with the youth, the one question that is facing them as anxiety is actually what is there for us in future. If there is this crisis, if there is that problem, is there some bright ideas about future? And I think this question they are unable to ask, and then it becomes responsibility of filmmakers, scientists, every one of us to become their voice, which has been kind of portrayed very well in the film. And how did you get the idea to really bring this angle into the film? Because one thing is documenting the landscape, the culture, and talking about the traditional wisdom community coming together, because I think that's the question mark you use in the film to close the film as well.
Well, yeah, I think I already mentioned the answer.
Yes.
It is something similar to what Akira Kurosawa answered when somebody asked him, "How did you get this excellent shot in a movie about a period film?" And he said, "If I had moved my camera to the right, there is an electric post, and if I moved to the left, there would be something
Coca-Cola
else."
poster.
In a similar way, we finished shooting, and then we had to find an angle. We were forced to think of things, and we couldn't go back and shoot with some kids. So we thought, we have some shots of some kids at the end. So we thought we will, take this angle of the kids asking us, what are we going to do? So that, by 2050, when this happens, will I have some water to drink?
Yes, absolutely. So, just asking a technical question here, again for the younger generation to understand from you, to make a 20 minutes film, what is the overall repository you have to really go through. And I saw that the film was also blessed with support from for funding. So maybe you can take the second question as how, I mean, Geetika has already hinted it slightly that it's a brighter side than 15 years ago. But do younger people get enough support in terms of making films, and where are these avenues? So maybe two questions, and I'm throwing it both to you. And how much time does it take? 20 minutes film means 200 minutes, 200 minutes, 300 minutes. What is it?
This is actually our first film, and I will also say this is our last film. Because first film meaning this is our first project that we did. But when I say last film, this is the last film that we did in film. And the thing that interested me, I mean, Geetika was always interested in doing something like this, regarding environment, climate, water, etc. I am more of a filmmaker on the, artistic side, I mean, on the narrative side, on the fictional side. So I, you know, my coming into this project was basically because this was going to be shot in film, and I think probably this might be the last documentary that has been shot in film, because after 1 year, even feature films are not being shot in film. So we got some film for stock from Fuji. We
Okay.
approached senior cinematographer here in Kochi. So
Yes, you
the
have
whole
mentioned.
idea was to have to show this blessed country with the most, the most beautiful way possible, using the best lenses and camera. Uh, and so we chose film, and that was a point when film was almost, getting starting to die out, and then the digital media has been coming. So after this project we never got to do anything on film, and because it was shot in film, it was very expensive, and thankfully, as I said, we were shooting something else, so we could club these two, and then that's how we could find the funding, and then I don't think we could, get anything back after this. Of course, it was selected to a couple of festivals. We got travel there, we got some awards, but the money that was put into it is, when
It's
it's a
one way.
positive, it
It's
is.
one way. So this is like a social work also then.
Yes, it was, and the difference now is really, now that the transition to digital is almost complete. So see, there is a lot of loss in terms of the quality of the visual, for sure, because when you look at, especially Ladakh and Rajasthan that is portrayed in our film, the colors are so vivid, and it's you will not get the same quality on digital. But the the flip side to that is that working with digital is so much more cheaper and flexible, that in terms of actually getting something done that speaks for a cause, and for which you cannot find easy funding, I think the shift to digital has been a huge blessing. I think there are two parts of this. One is someone who wants to, assume the role of somebody calling out a particular social issue, and the other is a filmmaker looking at the aesthetic. And sometimes you cannot satisfy both. So I think in terms of the documentary space, sometimes the message has to be clearer than the medium. Sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So I think that,
yes. But there's
yeah.
a fine line then for filmmakers.
Fine line. I mean, not to say that there have been amazing results with digital, not to say that. So I think overall, though, the shift to digital, though perhaps the conventional look and feel has changed, I think overall it has been for the benefit of youngsters who want to create something regarding a particular social issue, and especially something that involves traveling and a lot of flexibility, because you just pick up your camera. If it's a digital one, it's smaller, it's lighter, it's easier, all sorts of things, and you can really go from place to place, shoot over a particular period of time. film is expensive, was expensive, really expensive. So
you had to muffle the sound of the
Yeah,
camera so
camera.
that you have to take the sound.
ambient sound and all that. So all those challenges which we face then don't exist today. So yeah, but on the whole, I think as far as the documentary maker is concerned, the change has been mostly for the better. You can get a
Okay.
lot more done on a smaller budget. Let me just put
Yeah,
it that
that's quite optimistic also, but also I'm curious to know, and I have asked this question in every Friday Water Talkies sessions. 20-minute film means 200 minutes of shooting or 2000 minutes of shooting approximately. What was your experience in this, or how much did you invest in minutes?
way. There was a lot of travel involved in this documentary,
Yeah,
so I don't think, yeah, because
shooting
normally
is one part. Just shooting is
don't
one part.
involve traveling to and shooting in so many different terrains. So I think something like easily 2.5 months that we
I
shot.
think if you look at the final cut versus the duration of the
Rushes.
footage that was shot, it is always 3:1. But if you
Okay,
look
so
at the
I meant duration of footage. Okay, I didn't know the word, so that's it.
yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Or if you ask about the number of days of shooting, I think we took about 3 to 5 days per location. Because when
Okay.
we went to Ladakh, there was a snowfall, so we got stuck in halfway through. Then we had to stay there until the flights started.
Mhm.
So, such kind of things, and we had extra work because of this film camera. You cannot just carry it with you like
Yes,
that.
yes. And this time has to be put into the overall investment into the film, because after all you are spending time on it, so that makes a huge difference in when we say that, oh, it's a 20-minute film. And that is why I'm always curious. 20 minutes means it must have involved many hours to really get that 20-minute shot out of it. And editing becomes a very critical part of it. And I know that you have also worked with a legendary in this film, so maybe it's a good idea that we have a little bit of acknowledgement and your experience of working with him.
With Amal. So Amal, I think, according to us, he's probably one among the top 5 best cinematographers in India right
Yeah.
now. And he has started his career working with Ram Gopal Verma, and then he is now one of the topmost directors in Kerala. Uh,
Mhm.
and of course, the films that he make as a director is in another genre, but his vision and his contribution towards the wholesomeness of cinema is much larger. Uh, we just randomly went and asked him, "Can you
Yeah,
do this?"
it was a long shot.
And
Yeah,
you can suggest this to younger people also to find good mentors.
yeah, and from that day onwards, we also learned that we should do this more often, and we are right now doing it. After that, probably a couple of times it worked. There are many times where it has not worked, but we decided that the first time we tried it, it worked, and now for anything that we need, even if we are making a feature film, we'll first go to the best actor, and then we'll ask him somehow, and it has worked many times. Yeah.
So actually, so every time you're thinking of a project, there is the ideal, right?
Yeah.
My ideal camera person, my ideal hero, or my ideal protagonist. And sometimes we think, oh no, that person is too big
Too big,
for
too
us to
big,
grow.
not
Yeah.
may not agree.
Yeah. So this was one time we actually fought that mindset, and we actually went and asked, and he said
Give it a
yes.
try. Give it a try.
We can always try. But again, I don't think the younger generation has an issue with this, because
Okay.
they're always very bold too, and there is also the access now. I think with
Yes,
social
that's
media,
true.
Instagram, everybody feels much closer than
Much,
probably
yes,
in
and also
2000.
more empowered, and they are more confident.
Yes, yes.
So
So that's
that brings me to the question of these new gen productions which are happening, and I can go up to the TikTok to small citizen journalism and doing influencers for that matter, who are making some wonderful short 1 minute 2 minute beyond advertisement as well. What is your take on the current situation of attention span of our audience? or the people, let's say, are we still in that space where we would like to enjoy a serious or a very hilarious, both sides, a longer version? Are we still there? It's like, having a test cricket or to having the 20 hours match. So in that space, where do we stand today as as urbanites, let's say, who are usually the main consumers of this kind of films or documentaries, for that matter? Have we actually transitioned to a space where everyone is looking for quick 2-minute Maggie kind of situation, or we are still having some takers for longer versions? In environmental matters, of course, I'm talking about in environmental space.
I'd like to pull up a very, very different example here to answer your
Sure,
question.
sure.
Yeah, so also related to water, in 2018, there was a massive flood in Kerala, right? So it was the
Yes.
worst flood in 100 years.
Yeah.
And we were all in trouble, right?
Hmm.
So the one group of people that stepped up in a huge way to help with rescue operations, logistics, everything on the ground was the so-called younger generation with a lesser attention span, and those who were supposedly stuck to their screens and all that. We saw a side to them that we didn't know existed. So
Mm-hmm.
that, at least in Kerala, brought about a lot of rethinking about how we have possibly branded them. And I
Mm.
feel the younger generation, despite all the digital addiction and the definitely the shortened attention span is a fact. I don't think there's any disputing it anymore. But their willingness to rally behind purpose, I think, is much higher than it was in the previous generations. They see
Mm.
themselves as being
I
part of a
agree with
community.
you.
Yeah,
I am pro
it
youth in that.
I have that is what how I see the current younger generation. In terms of consumption of media, I don't know if long format still appeals to them. I really doubt. But I think finally it's about proactive steps, right? For
Yes, and
towards
engagement and their engagement. Yeah, that's true.
they're willing to take something that is pulled out of the media and execute it. And finally, I think that is what matters.
Oh, I am so pro youth, and I take youth more seriously than my peer groups, to be honest now. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, I was speaking on a global platform and talking about that youth has to really reclaim their position in the overall societal discourse, whether it is politics or whether it is environment, and they have to take charge. We cannot be governed by now those old thinking old men, and so it was more on a political discourse. I was talking that youth have to take charge, and I started with Mamdani actually. So and where we are heading, and we saw a lot of these issues. And you were so right that when we see a lot of youth groups across the country who are really doing lot of social work and volunteering work, which I did not see during my time. I will be very honest on that. I mean, because I'm also a senior generation than your generation, so I can see that, and I'm quite hopeful about it. And I hope they take this medium more seriously, and they are taking more seriously, for that matter. That brings actually to my last very simple questions to both of you. What are you brewing these days, and what are your favorite topics that are going around in your kitty? And are you making more films, or what's going on? Mhm. You say.
Well, we're writing a couple of scripts, and we are looking at various formats because now there are so many more options. Not just
Yes.
features, there are series, there are documentaries, there are a lot of things. Well, I think the one issue that everyone is really talking about is the divisiveness that has developed
Yes.
over
Oh,
the past few
we are
years.
in bad shape in society.
Yes, yes. But not particularly a dark take because again, we like to
It's
foreground,
transition. Hmm.
yeah, we like to foreground the youth and how they are prepared to make a change. So
Hmm.
one of the subjects we are really looking at is fictional, but trying to see how the young people in a particular area make a difference, to the status quo. Yeah, so that is something that we are working on.
That's very nice. You remind me of a film which was made by Conflictorium from Ahmedabad. I'm sure you may be knowing people from Conflictorium. They pick up some conflicting points, and it
Yeah.
was a very good I will say, fusion of talking about a river, which is Sabarmati in Ahmedabad. So the film is Love at Sabarmati. And they take Sabarmati River and then how the communal issues have really been raised around the river's development. And it was a wonderful film, again made by very young people, and quite encouraging to see how younger generation is really trying to weave in the social matters and the environmental matters to put it together. So I mean, yes, I hope the people, younger people who hear this, and also this film also goes far, and as well, you engage in some, again, a very important issue in the country at this moment, and it has been there, but I think it has become more institutionalized at this point in time. So I do hope that you come up with some interesting films or documentaries or whatever format you are planning through it, fictional or non-fictional. And I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. And thank you so much for taking out time for this interaction. And before I let you go, as a protocol of the session, I would also like to announce what's cooking in W4W for the next week. Actually, next week, Friday we have book reading session, and we have very renowned people coming from Bangladesh, and it's part of the International Association of the Study of Commons, which we call as IASC Asia Series, led by Nobel laureate Elinor Ostrom. On November 21st, we have at 5 p.m. We are talking about 10 years of water discourse in Bangladesh, and it will be actually a worth watching session where we have Farah Kabir, the country director of Action Aid, and Professor Imtiaz Ali, who has actually been the editor of the book. And I have also contributed to that book. So I'm looking forward to that interaction with both the editors and the leaders in the water sector in Bangladesh. Then next Wednesday, we have very interesting session again on Wednesdays for Water, and we take up the Water Anxiety series, which we just started in October. And we are actually talking about peace and ecology in the times of climate crisis. And that will be on November 21st. And we will take it through and see how we discuss peace and ecology. Then Monday Munching, we are having Monday Munching the coming Monday, which is on November 17th. We actually interact with only women. We call it Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water, where we acknowledge and appreciate women in the water and in their water endeavors. We have Dr. Tania Malik, who is from the law background, and Dr. Parul Gurjar, who is from the biodiversity background. Both are going to talk to us and talk about how they work in the male-dominated sector of water. So that's it from us today. Thank you so much, Geetika and Sudip, for this wonderful interaction. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. For me, it is always big learning to meet different people from different backgrounds working around water or on water. Thanks a lot. Please take care and wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mansee. All
Thank
the best
you.
to you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.